Good evening, Top fans. It's Bill from Top Fan Rivalry here with another Top Fan Rivalry Clubhouse on a Monday night, on the night that the Red Sox and the Astros are playing Game 3. We're all here. We've got a number of people representing the Braves, the Dodgers, the White Sox, the Angels / Mariners, depending on what hat he's wearing. And so we'll get to that in a second. I'm so grateful to have all of you on. This is going to be a fun time. We might even get Ned to smile once or twice. I don't know, though. We'll see what happens. So let's start talking. Okay, so we're now in the NLCS, ALCS, right? Any surprises, Jamie? Any surprises with the team that the teams that are there, the 4 teams that are there?
NLCS, you said, or ALCS?
Yeah, NL, both of them.
I'm shocked at the Red Sox, but I kind of predicted it back a few months ago, and I actually am, no offense, Ned, shocked at the Braves. So
the first answer, we're going to get it going. Before you know it, Brian's going to be singing the Dodger theme song here in a second because he loves the Dodgers so much. All right, so you were a little shocked with the Braves and how the Braves turned out?
Yeah. I know they have some really clutch players, but I was still shocked. We lost Ned.
He'll come back on. It looks like he froze. Every time you freeze on Zoom, it's never like you doing like this. It's always when you got this weird look on your face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's almost like when you have that look on your face, like you're an Arizona Diamondbacks fan thinking you're actually going to go to the playoffs.
Hey.
By the end of April, you're going, we got to win 90% of our games just to have a shot. No. All right, my bad. Okay, Baltimore Oriole fan. How's that? All right.
Better.
There you go. All right, Brian, same question. Were you surprised at the last 4, or was this kind of how you saw it coming?
Kind of how I saw it coming. Honestly, I thought the Brewers were going to put up more of a fight, and their offense their pitching was great, like it always was all season, but their offense really struggled. I'm actually really surprised. As of right now, there's 2 guys on and 2 outs for Houston. But I'm really surprised how Boston pitching the last 2 games has really like silenced the bats of Houston. I know 2 days ago, they were up like 9-0 and then ended up being 9-5. But game 1 was kind of a wash too. It was a 1-run game, but like they're blanking them 9-0, and that's shocking to me coming from the lineup that Houston has.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing right now. Also, biggest thing, the just clutchness of the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, getting it done when they need to get it done. Yeah. Ned, are you surprised with the last 4 that are remaining?
Yeah, I think National League, not so much. I mean, it's a rematch of last year. I think we expected that. But in the American League, I really thought the White Sox were going to do a little bit more against Houston. White Sox really did show up, and I was really surprised that Tampa, didn't, do as much as you thought, with a 100-win season. So, but you know what? It's been just like every other postseason. Boston's a hot team right now. So, and especially after that wild card game, I think kind of gave them momentum to kind of propel them into the next round. So to really beat up on Tampa Bay, but you know what? Their manager Alex Cora, he's a good baseball guy, and I think he's the X factor for that team. He knows his players, he knows the situation, and he's really been the deciding factor, at least for me, on the reason why they're there.
Good call. I like that. Chris, what are you surprised with the last 4? And you're on mute. There you go.
Yeah, for sure. I think that the most surprising, I think we've all said it unanimously, it's the Atlanta Braves. Like going against the Brewers in the DS, I think Milwaukee was built for the postseason with that 3-headed monster like Peralta, Burns, and Woodruff. Those 3 guys, they're supposed to get you right to the championship series right away. But obviously the home run reliant offense for the Brewers kind of stabbed in the back of them. Jock Peterson, great at bats, had a great series. And then they move on. They're already up 2-0 on the Dodgers. So they are the most shocking. And on the other side of the spectrum, you have the Red Sox, which when you're the beneficiary of one of the most lucky calls in postseason history, that ground rule double, and it kind of took the wind out of the Rays' sails, that's gonna push you far. And they're already stomping the Astros. So those are my two surprises for sure.
Yeah. What do you think, Dave?
I agree with everything that he just said. You know, Christian Yelich is really a surprise. He really didn't show up at all. And it's kind of concerning to see like where he's headed. Hopefully he comes back strong next year. And all the injuries the Braves had, and they've been able to overcome that. It's really surprising. And I'll just speak, you know, for a couple seconds on my White Sox. I mean, I think I kind of predicted it a few months ago, or even a month ago, when I said, you know, this team hasn't played a meaningful game since July. You're coasting in, you know, walking backwards into a division title because the rest of the division's so bad. And I think that, combined with the fact that it's such a young offense, no real postseason experience. And, you know, I think it showed some holes in the pitching too. You know, when Rodon kind of broke down a little bit, and then they had to rely on some other guys, didn't work out so well. So I think they've got a lot to do in Chicago. They need a second baseman and they need a right fielder and maybe a starter.
Yeah. I was I went back and I watched the version that we did about the predictions, and I predicted White Sox, Yankees in the ALCS, and I predicted Dodgers, Braves. I was surprised at how much of a teeter-totter season the Braves had. I thought they'd just go out, but again, Ronald Acuna getting hurt in Miami, that was a big blow. Philadelphia trying to be, well, Philadelphia, making it interesting, right? And the Mets, I was amazed at, gosh, when it counted, it felt like the Mets were losing every game when it counted. In September, they just looked terrible. So I was a little surprised about that, and not to mention San Diego, right? San Diego just fell apart. But I was a little surprised with the last four teams. I'm a little surprised that, no offense, Dave, but the White Sox didn't show what I thought they were going to. But you're right. They hadn't played, I don't think they played a meaningful game really since the Field of Dreams game, late July, right? Because, I mean, at that point, they were up 10 or 12 games on Cleveland, and it wasn't going to matter. I am surprised to see Boston. I thought Boston was in a rebuilding year. I'm not surprised to see the Astros there. They just seem to make it work, cheating or not. I will tell you that Carlos Correa, and pointing at his watch, saying it's my time. That guy, that rubs everybody wrong. So I mean, he had no desire whatsoever to apologize for cheating before, and then he's pointing at his watch. Watch your head, buddy boy, at your next at bat, I tell you. So,
Well, I'm
yeah.
honestly not too surprised about the Red Sox because they made some incredible trades. And they acquired a lot of great players at the trade deadline. And I knew that they were going to be an upset. And you and I had a discussion, like they have to knock out the New York Yankees and Tampa Bay Rays. And I'm like, they have the potential to do that because who they acquired was just, yeah. And we all knew that because we ranked them, who was the worst, who was the best. You know, Dodgers, of course, were the best ranked, and this is like throughout all these different sites who ranked the trades. And then the Red Sox were, you know, like had a B+ score, and then I looked at who was the worst, and of course it was the Cubs. So, you know, I'm sure our fellow White Sox fan here is probably really happy about that.
Dave, try to hide your emotion right there. Try to hide your emotion.
Yeah. We can have this show in the next 10 years. We won't be talking about the Cubs.
Does anybody else think that, even though he hit 230, 240 this season, anybody else think that Kiki Hernandez is becoming Mr. October Jr.?
Well, as a Dodger fan and being able to watch him the past like half decade, like he's always come up in those big situations. And I think like this is exactly what he wanted. He was like, I want to have my own identity. I want to go to like my own team. And like that's what he's done. That's what he's like sculpted for. And like he's always been must watch for the Dodgers. And he was like always a fan favorite. Everyone thought he was super cute, but then backs it up with like, what was it, 5 home runs in his first 6 postseason games this year. So I did expect it. And once he got the at bats, once he got the reps, you just saw it formulate. And I think it kind of sticks to you, and you kind of develop when a player just goes off in the postseason. So I think like this could almost be a standard for him or something close to it, like being that guy who slugs the big home runs. It wouldn't surprise me if next year he has like a silver slugger type year for his position for sure.
Yeah, let's not forget the 3 home runs he had in Wrigley in that game that sent the Dodgers to the NLCS or to send them to the World Series, I think. Yeah, just as long as, Dave, you can remember this, and Ned, you'll probably remember this, as long as Kiki doesn't walk around saying, I'm the straw that stirs the drink, then we're okay, right?
Or start pointing at his watch.
There you go. There you go.
Kike Hernandez, like I'm
Maybe
looking at his
Junior.
postseason stats in his career, 157 at bats. His ops is 940. He's got 13 homers. He's driven in 27, and he has a 280 average. Like
That's not bad in
nice
October.
clutch. And I think like I don't want to like hark on the Dodgers a lot, but I mean they're at where they're at because of their pitching and their offense. But for some reason, like their offense, even with the Giants series, was really hot and cold. And you know, I know with this past season too, they had some guys that were injured a lot or underperformed, like Cody Bellinger. It makes me think like, what are they kind of kicking themselves thinking, wow, like if we knew like Bellinger was going to have this type of season, like if we kept Kike, like maybe we would have won the West type of thing. I mean, they're like there where they're at, but you know.
Yeah. I have a sentiment on that. And like, I see it all the time on Twitter. Like, why did we let Kike go? Why is Jock doing what he's doing? And Alex Verdugo. And I think the reality of the situation is those guys wanted to get out of LA. People act like, oh my gosh, Dodgers, why didn't you sign these guys? But Alex Woods like said publicly, I didn't want to compete with this in spring training. Like, I want to know I'm going to be in the starting rotation. Jock Peterson wants to be an everyday guy. Same with Kike Hernandez. So I think that narrative kind of needs to be hushed a little bit. And those guys are going to make their own personal decision and do what's best for their career. And you can't really blame the Dodgers for that. I think obviously the offense has been spotty, like you mentioned, but I'm ready to just like quit it on the narrative that we let these guys go and we kind of hedged our bets on the bigger names and they're not coming up for us. It's just the path that those individuals took, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
I
do you
agree
have
with
a
that.
passion for it at all, Chris, or not? I don't have an opinion, do you? Listen, nobody could have predicted Cody Bellinger hitting less than his weight this season, and nobody could predict it. But keep in mind, Jock Peterson and Kiki both hit under 250 this season. They just come up big in October, and so that's why everybody's talking about him. But keep in mind, I mean, during the season, Jock Peterson strikes out more than he hits. And I mean, the thing that's surprising me right now with these last 4 teams are the players that are producing and the players that aren't. So take, for example, Mookie Betts he had a great series with the Giants, but he started out slow with the Braves. Freddie Freeman sends the Braves to the National League Championship Series and then strikes out the next 8 at bats, right? And I think he's 0 for 8 or 0 for 9 right now. You know, Freddie Freeman is, if you're going to teach kids how to hit, he's left-handed hitters. He's probably one of the ones that you want to use as an example, right? Because he covers the whole plate and he doesn't swing at a lot of junk. But for some reason, he's just not producing. Now, Kiki looks like Babe Ruth. I don't, you know, and Jose Altuve, all 5'1" of him, how is that guy hitting these balls as far as he's hitting them? Okay, does he still have the buzzer on? What's going on? I mean, what do you guys think? How is he still producing, this guy?
I don't know.
He's just a good hitter.
Yeah. Don't knock the short stocky guys, because most of the SEALs that I served with, they're not like your Adonis looking Seeger type people. They're short, stocky, built guys, and because they have more endurance for some reason. Who knows why?
Yeah, he gets a
Guy
lot of
hits the ball
torque in his
450
swing.
feet though,
Yeah,
I know, but hey.
and they have to get his pants at the junior section instead of
Hey.
being able to, get him in the clubhouse. It's he's a little guy.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Sorry, Jose, if you ever listen to this, I'm just joking, man. And if I'm gonna get in any trouble, my name's Dave Schaefer. Send all the problems to Dave Schaefer.
I think it's kind of like I always remember this quote from about like Ichiro Suzuki was that he never really hit for power, but it just wasn't his game. Like Altuve hits for power and average, but like people are like, oh, if Ichiro chooses to hit homers, he'd do it. He just doesn't want to. That's not his game. And he's kind of got that same. I think he's a little bit taller than Jose Altuve is, but just they have that kind of same like small frame to where like they just command the strike zone and know how to swing the bat.
don't forget, yeah, he has a great swing. He plays in one of the smallest ballparks in the MLB. Plays in like a humid environment too. Very hot place there in Houston. So like a lot of things factor in, but like he's a great ball player. And obviously before the 2017 charade, like he was one of my idols because like I grew up playing baseball and like I was a smaller kid and I'm like, oh my gosh, how is he hitting like 30-30? And yeah, but he just has like really good swing. I think like something with how he moves his legs, like the torque and the scissor kick with the leg kick there. It's really impressive, honestly.
Yeah.
All I have to say for you Angel fans listening to this, David Eckstein didn't have to wear a buzzer.
No, and he's one of my all-time favorite Angels. And if you ever get a chance to meet him, the like nicest guy in the world.
He is. All right. So judging on what we know from here, what are we looking for? So first of all, what has bugged you the most in the playoffs so far? Dave, I'm going to start with you. What's bugged you the most? And I'll go over to Ned. What has bugged you the most during the playoffs?
Well, speaking about the White Sox Astros series, what bugs me the most is we got like 3 straight afternoon games.
Oh,
And what does it take to get a little bit of a mix and get a primetime game at night? It's ridiculous. So I think the scheduling sucked, but that didn't cause them to win or to lose. I mean, it didn't cause the Astros to beat them. So that's bugged me. Beyond that, I mean, the umpiring is what it is. And I know that check swing call didn't, that guy, Flores was not going to touch him into that at bat no matter what, even if he had a tennis racket. So didn't matter. Didn't affect the outcome of that game. I'll tell you what, the balls and strikes in the White Sox series that I watched the closest were ridiculous for both teams. I mean, you look up the umpire scorecards for those games, and those guys behind the plate were bad, really, really bad. So that's the theme, I guess, for me.
yeah.
I have to agree. I've noticed more than any other postseason that the umpiring and like the inconsistency has been at the worst in my experience so far. But other than that, I think on a personal level and like with a Dodgers lens, it's been like the inconsistency of the offense because our pitching has been so good the entire postseason, and we're losing these 2-1, 4-3 games, and now we're 2 losses away from going home. So just on a Dodgers note, the offense needs to step it up, get consistent.
What do you think, Ned?
Are you asking me from a fan of a team perspective or just from a baseball fan in general?
Yes, either or, up to you.
Because I have a couple of opinions, and to Dave's point, the umpiring is what it is. The only thing that you hope for is that they're consistent on both sides of it. Watching the game last night, the Braves and Dodgers, it seemed like the home plate umpire was consistently bad. So at least that was fair. They're on the same field. And I kind of have to agree with Dave too. It's frustrating, to to have a job where you work sometimes during the day and you can't catch these the day games that go on. I understand why MLB does it, because they want to capture the baseball fan as much as they can by not trying to overlap the games. I mean, but however, whatever team you're rooting for, gonna tune in and watch. I'm a Braves fan, but I'm not watching the ALCS. You know what I mean? So on the same, why not play the games on the same day? But I understand why they do it. And the other thing too, I think managers have some quick hooks. When's the last time a starting pitcher went 6 innings? They're all these starting pitchers are getting pulled in the second and third inning. It's like, let's use the eye test here, managers. If stop looking at analytics and start just going off what you're seeing. Who cares if the guy has 60 pitches? Let him grind it out. Let him get through something. And sometimes that tells me that you don't have a lot of trust in your offense. With less than 2 outs and in the early part of the game, you go pull a pitcher. It's like you don't trust your offense is going to come back and score. I mean, look what happened last night with the Braves and Dodgers. I mean, I honestly think all right, we got to score 4 runs before we make 6 outs, right? And I think you as a Dodger fans were thinking the same thing. Hey, we just need 6 more outs. But they always say that the toughest thing, and that's been kind of been the marching cry for Atlanta. That's why Atlanta, I think, has been so good down the stretch here, is that there's not a quit in them. But anyway, that's really what's bugged me, is that these pitching changes. It's like, come on, they say they want to shorten the game, then I don't know if you can't throw a rule into there, but it's just these managers have to trust these pitchers a little more.
Jamie, what am I always telling you? What's the most important part of the beginning of the game?
Pitch count.
That's right. Because that's all anybody's paying attention to anymore.
Yep.
Is pitch count. Pitch count.
Right. And so I'll take my turn before you, Brian. Sorry.
You're good.
Yeah, it's not trusting it's not actually not, I don't know if it's trust, but it's definitely looking into analytics. That's what's driving me bonkers about baseball, period, is just how reliant these managers are on analytics. And I understand that stats are there for a reason. They're there to help hone players' skills, etc. But when you're in the middle of a game, you really shouldn't be pulling out your best pitcher 3 innings in. That's just not, that doesn't set well with fans. And I think it goes down to a downhill slide from there. But also the umpiring, and umpires are umpires. They're humans. I get that they make mistakes, but I have been looking at the consistency or the accuracy rating. And I have to say, for all 5 games of the Giants, their accuracy rating for calls was in the low 90s. The inaccuracy was in the high 90s. So it's like, there's got to be something there. And also, not being an Angel Hernandez fan, he should be nowhere near the postseason whatsoever. That man does not deserve to be on a baseball field during the postseason. It's fine during regular season, we can make up a game that he botches calls, but in the postseason, I want that man as far away from any baseball field. Even the Little League, I don't even want him near a field.
Ouch. That's a rough crowd. Oh yeah, I love it. Brian.
The thing that's really, I forgot the question. I'm sorry.
What's bugging you
thing
about
that's bugging me?
postseason?
Oh, well, it's the umpiring inconsistency, I think, and also the inconsistency of some of the replays. The one that stuck out to me the most was in the Braves Brewers series, where it was that foul ball, and I forgot I think it was third baseman. I think it was Austin Riley. I'm not too sure, but he caught it, or maybe it was for the Brewers. I'm not sure. But he caught it, and they said he didn't catch it, and then it hit ground or whatever. And the replay clearly shows like in glove type of thing. Like, so it's the inconsistency of not just the umpires, but like the replay showing it. It's like, Like, how could you get this wrong when it's right there? Like, if I'm in the stands and I could see on the Jumbotron, like the actual video being played and that it didn't touch ground or he didn't tag him or whatever, but you're not making the correct call, like something's got to change there. And even with strike zone, like I'm all for it. You don't have to be an automated umpire. It doesn't have to be a robot behind the plate. Just have the ear feed. You know, some guy up in the booth be like, hey, it was in. All right, strike 3. Like, it's instant. You can just get that instant reaction from the person up in the booth. But
You
MLB.
know, it's interesting because every one of us on here have talked about the umpiring, right? And so every one of us have talked about the umpiring. The thing that is driving me the most, though, that drives me the most crazy is kind of what Dave and Ned mentioned. I could care less. Play fundamental baseball. I don't care if the pitcher has 120 pitches in 6 innings. Okay. You know, you're supposed to work out, you're supposed to strengthen your arm, and they've got better equipment nowadays than they had when I played, or, you know, come on, guys, just, and Max, by the way, I'm not taking Max out of any game. You see the way he looks at Dave Roberts when it's time to come out? I'm ready for like punches to get thrown on the mound. But the thing that's driving me nuts is these guys are not, they're letting computers think for them. They're not letting them just play the game. It's okay to make mistakes. So Corey Seager missed that ground ball last night that sent the game over to the Braves corner. I can guarantee you Corey's going to come out swinging. He's going to want to make up for that, right? And so you may end up having him get a diving play that'll save a run or something. Right.
But Seager is always a swing on first pitch player. So whenever he's at bat, he always swings at the first pitch. So, you know, he is going to be swinging for the fences and then some, because he feels really bad about missing fielding a catch of 100-mile ball that he really couldn't see because of grab roll.
By the way, anybody see that umpire last night behind the plate with the Braves game? Nobody was messing that dude.
He was
doing his best Shaquille O'Neal impression. What was he, like 6'7", 6'8", something like that? They showed a picture of him standing up straight. I can't remember who the batter was, but I'm like, nobody's messing with this guy. He's just he calls a pitch in the dirt a strike. You just look at him and say, "Yes, sir, you're absolutely right. I'm sorry that only went 58 feet, but yes, you're right. Yes, sir, that's a strike." Oh my gosh, that guy. So
I want to go back to, like, you guys touched on Scherzer and not taking him out.
Yep.
I saw this quote this morning. Scherzer came out and said, like, I would just say my arm was dead. I'm not dealing with any red flag injuries. I'm just tired. That's weird to me because a guy like Max Scherzer doesn't get tired.
No.
Like, the guy broke his nose in the batting cage a few years ago and like was like, I'm pitching
Maybe
tomorrow.
he's tired of
like,
LA, like you were saying.
But he started on Tuesday night and he pitched on Thursday night in San Francisco, and then he started on Saturday. And so, or on Sunday, I'm sorry. It mentally just getting up for one of those games, that's enough, right? But
Why didn't they start Walker Buehler on full rest? That's the question. Why didn't they start Walker Buehler on full rest? It doesn't make any sense, Bill. Like, and
I
Brian,
agree.
you said something off camera about, this might be coming from, it doesn't make any sense to me. If the guy had a tired arm the day before, he's gonna have a tired arm the next day. He said he had a tired arm on Saturday. That's why he didn't start game 1.
So let me check.
Why wouldn't you start again?
Let me check to see who's starting for the Giants. Okay, so Charlie Morton's starting for Atlanta, and Walker Buehler is starting for LA. So
yeah, Ned, I'll be honest with you. When I saw that Scherzer was starting, I thought advantage Atlanta. I really did. Because you can't, I mean, this is not 1988 and this is not Oral Hershiser, right? You can't do this kind of crap. I mean, Dave, you've got a kid who's been pitching an awful lot in the spring and summer. At some point, you just got to shut it down for a day or two, right?
Well, Scherzer's not a young guy. I mean, your ability to pound down the innings goes away as you get older. And I think it's really underestimated what it takes to pitch, period, but pitch at that level. I mean, every pitch is a sprint, and you think about, these guys are throwing a couple of thousand or more pitches a season. I mean, I just think it's underestimated. When you get to Scherzer's age, I mean, you're not going 7-8 innings too much anymore. It's just not going to happen. And you're at the end of a season where, again, they've thrown thousands of pitches. You're going to be tired. There's no doubt about it. When you're 25, 28, maybe 30, you can dig deep and maybe have another gear. I don't know how you do that when you're 35 or older. And even these younger guys, Bueller and them, I mean, they're gassed. We saw it with the White Sox. Those guys, even though they tried to rest them in August and September, they're gassed. That's not right. Lance Lynn is not a young guy. He's gassed. I mean,
But
there's no way around it.
If you had a pitcher like Walker Bueller on your roster, why would you not start him on full rest, though? It doesn't make any sense. Like,
I agree with
I don't
that.
get it.
I think
agree with
game
that.
3 is the
I
more
don't get it.
pivotal game, though.
Yeah, when we're coming into game 3 of this series, that's where you want to, that's kind of, I think, where Roberts is going. He wants his ace in the hole coming in and just kind of decimating you guys. No offense, Ned.
But you still have to win 4. So why wouldn't you try to start that in game 2 instead of wait until game 3? That's what I don't understand. Why, the Braves had the same thing with Charlie Morton. Could have pitched on Sunday on full rest, but they decided to go with the rookie Ian Anderson, who does have some playoff experience, but it was more of Charlie Morton's more of a big time game pitcher. Yeah, the pivotal game 3, but they've also got him lined up if the series goes to 7 games. Guess who's on the mound for the Braves in game 7? It's Charlie Morton. So, that's
I just think they overthink that stuff a bit.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I mean, the name of the game is win 4 games in a 7-game series. You have to win 4 before the other team does. So why wouldn't you talk about pivotal, but what happens if the Dodgers lose tomorrow then? Now they're down 3-0. Then what? You go to
Then
a
you say, hey, it's
bullpen
2020.
game,
Let's do it again, boys.
down 3-0. You got to win 4 in a row.
Let's say it's 2020.
They
We're
could be
doing
saying
it again, boys.
Yeah, but 2020 this year's got 160 game or 132 games more than last year. So
Yes.
Brian's over there doing the math. Carry the
Trust me,
one,
Bill,
divide
I know
by
I'm
3.
like,
I was
I'm
told
not a math
everything
guy.
and I'm not sitting here as a Braves fan going, oh, this series is over, because by all means it's not, because the Braves have lost the last 10 out of the last 11 at Dodger Stadium. So they'll be happy to get out there with at least 1 game. So they could go back to Atlanta down 3-2. If that's the case, then then we have a series. And I think as a fan, that's all you want. You just want to have a series. You don't want a team going there and steamrolling somebody else. That's the worst thing that could happen, I think, for this, for any team. To win 4 straight, and then you have to wait around a week to play your opponent. So I don't know. I listened to the Dodgers pregame yesterday on my ride home, and the Dodger pregame radio hosts were like, oh yeah, Max is a warrior, he'll do it. But Dave made a great point. He's 37 years old, and the body wears and tears on you, and you've got a guy like Walker Bueller. Why did I just don't didn't understand it, and it's unfortunate, but here we go. So let's make it a series, Dodgers, please.
Yeah.
the 37-year-old goes 4 1/3 and strikes out 7. So, and he's tired. I think a lot of 37-year-old pitchers will kill for that line.
No, for sure. I think what happened with the Dodgers really though was like we have 3 starters. The Dodgers have only three guys who are going to give you 5 innings or more. And then after coming off of like a desperate game 5, we had to win 2 in a row, had to throw all of our chips in. Scherzer, of course, closing that series. You're depleted, and then you're facing the Braves, who have a couple of like Cy Young caliber guys, and we got to try to match that energy. I think the decision to start Max Scherzer in game 2 kind of comes off of maybe Walker Bueller not being as good in Atlanta. Obviously, kind of get the flashbacks back when he allowed that grand slam, and then he's been lights out at Dodger Stadium. So you just give him even more rest. And then maybe you're thinking, okay, if I pitch Scherzer for a 4 1/3 in game 2, you have that off day, the travel day to come back to LA, and then you have Buehler, Urias, maybe desperation time. You could pitch Scherzer in a game 5 when it's tied 2-2. And so I think that's where that comes from. But I really don't like the bullpen moves too. I think that calling Julio into the game yesterday was, or 2 days ago rather, it was kind of just confusing because you're doing the same thing that you did with Scherzer you're just going to pitch him more innings. And now he's going to have a little bit of lingering stuff heading into that game 4 start.
No, yeah, he gets into his head, and that's what Julio is known for, is getting into his head when he pitches incorrectly, or what he feels is incorrectly. So, putting him in that game, that was just, I think it was a very bad decision on Roberts, but I'm not Roberts, so I'm not in his head, so I don't know why he did it. And no Dodger fan does. He hasn't even come out and said in interviews as to why he did it. He just rotated through pitchers, and Urias was the best one at that point in time, which gave Jock Peterson the advantage. So because he pitched him an excellent ball, and honestly, I have to give mad props to the Braves. They played better than us last game. They really did. They were on point, and I want to see my Dodgers do better, but I have to give props where props are due, and good job, Braves. But yeah, I'm really hoping, no offense, Ned, that these next 3 games are all Dodgers. I really am. I want
Tell
to
us how you
see.
feel, Jamie. Tell us how you feel.
No, I want this honestly, I want this to go to 7. I know that we were predicting 6 games, 5 games, and all that, but honestly, I want it to go to 7 because I love baseball, and I think postseason is just probably some of the most fun baseball I can watch. So
My cardiologist wants it to go to 7. I know that. All right, so we're gonna go around the diamond. Chris, we're gonna start with you. Then we're gonna go to Brian, Jamie, Ned, and we'll let Dave you finish off. But give me 30 seconds of who you think is going to advance and why. Go, Chris.
All right, I'll do the easiest first in the AL. No one's gonna, like, the way that the Red Sox are rolling, I don't think the Astros are going to match that energy. They're not going to stop that. Once I turned off the TV when it was 9-0, I think nothing's going to change there. So they're already going to be up 2-1. I think they close out the series in 6 games. Astros pitching just very suspect, especially the starters. So Boston goes back to the World Series for the first time since 2018. In the NL, obviously, I got to hide my bias a little bit as a Dodger fan, but I think game 3 is going to tell the story. If they go down 3-0, it's not looking good. We don't have the depth. If we had every starter healthy, maybe I say they come back 3-0, maybe 3-1, but we have to win game 3, Buehler. And then I would say have to win game 4 as well, because we're going to have to throw at least one more bullpen game in the 7-game series. And a lot rides on Walker Buehler going 7 innings at Dodger Stadium. So I can't give you an answer because honestly, the Braves have the advantage right now, but we've seen big things from the Dodgers before. And I think they still could win this series. So I'm going to go on leave for the NL, and I can't give an answer.
So, Chris, I'm giving you a hard time. Or I mean, Brian, I gave you a hard time about being an Angels fan wearing a Mariners jersey. But did Chris not just say? Did he not just say I'm going to hide my bias? Chris, what's your shirt say on you? What are you wearing? Yeah, I'm hiding
Dodgers,
my bias. I'm wearing a Dodger jersey.
And I said no.
Nobody look at my bias.
Yeah,
I love
and
it,
I didn't
Chris.
say the Dodgers were going to win.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
He didn't say they were going to lose either. So.
That's true. Go ahead, Brian. You're
Anyone's
up. 30
game.
seconds. Who's advancing?
I'm wearing this because I went to Seattle and their colors are cool and I like to collect hats. So that's just me. But and it's for my friend Chris. But yeah, AL, AL's still a toss-up. It's bottom 5. It's 9-3 now. But I gotta agree, Houston's pitching is just not showing up. I just read a thing on Bleacher Report. Starters ERA is over 20. It's like 20.25 or something. And that's not going to cut it. Their bullpen's going to get gassed before game 4. So I think Boston's going back, and NL, man, it's tough because the Dodgers are playing kind of meh. If you wake the sleeping giant, they're going to come back. And I I know I hate on them a lot, but they're still a good team. Like, you don't win 106 games by accident. Like, you're a good team. You don't knock out the team that had one more win than you. Like, but Braves got a lot of energy. They got a lot of health. It's a toss-up. I'm gonna be a little biased because we have a baseballism store in Atlanta, but and I want them to go to the World Series so we can get more a little bit. But man, it's anyone's game. But just for the sake of the argument, I'm gonna go Braves.
Okay. Look at Jamie,
Good
30 seconds. Who's advancing and why?
American League, I think it's going to be Houston, and just not because everyone's picking the Red Sox, but because I think they kind of want it a little bit more than Boston, in my opinion. They're willing to do just about anything to get it. So don't be surprised if they're cheating. For the National League, I can't answer that right now because it's just honestly, with these 2 games lost to the Braves, honestly, it's really anyone's game right now. It's anyone's series because we have 5 games left, and like everyone's saying, if we do wake that sleeping giant and the Dodgers come back and win 3 straight, which they're very highly capable of doing in their own ballpark against the Braves, I see this going to Game 7 and it just being up for anyone, and hoping that the umpires don't, get in the mix. Angel Hernandez.
Absolutely. Got it. Ned, 30 seconds. Who's advancing and why?
I'll start with the American League, and then with Houston was done when they lost their number 1 starter Lance McCullers to an arm injury. So I just don't think they have enough starting pitching. So Boston will win that series in 5 or 6 games. The National League, obviously, there's a stat that nobody's talked about tonight, but 84% of the teams that have gone up 2-0 in a 7-game series have won 84% of the time. And yeah, the Dodgers did it last year, but it's really hard to do it 2 years in a row. I just think the Dodgers don't have their mojo. They lost their guy that kind of drives their offense, and Max Muncy. Nobody talked about that. With the loss of Max Muncy, he's the one guy in the lineup that I kind of dreaded last year as a fan to watch. So I think the Dodgers will take the series back to Atlanta, but Atlanta will win the National League pennant on their home field.
Like it.
So I'm looking for a Braves Red Sox.
Braves Red Sox. Got it. Dave.
Yeah, we had to face McCullers twice, and he's really good. And when they lost him, that was a big loss for the Astros. They don't have much behind him. So good call out there, Ned. What I'm gonna say is 2 things. One of them you kind of touched on, but the hottest teams, the teams with the mojo, are the Red Sox and the Braves. I would also argue that the Red Sox and the Braves have the better managers. So I'm going to go with the mojo and the manager. Those 2 are going to advance.
I like it. I like it. I'm going to say the Red Sox. I think that the Red Sox are they're on it right now. Now, as the series started, I wouldn't have said that. I would have said that the Asterix were the team that were going to advance, but I'm definitely going to say the Red Sox. Ned, here's what I'm going to say about the Dodgers Braves one. Whoever's up 3-2 going back to Atlanta, there's your winner, right? If the Dodgers are up 3-2, or if the Braves are up 3-2, the only caveat to that is if we play Dodger baseball, meaning we score 2-3 runs early like we did last night, but our pitching stays the way it's been. Yeah, but right now it's hard. That one's a toss-up. I agree that the Braves are I agree with you, Dave. The Braves are being better managed right now, but I still can't count out the Dodgers just yet. I do think that they'll probably get tomorrow, and if they can get past Max the following night, then we kind of got smooth sailing, right? And if we can go back to Atlanta 3-2, good to go. All right.
So Ned, before we close this out, Ned, you said something about Max Muncy. I wouldn't count him out completely from the series. From what I hear, he's actually doing pretty good in recovery.
Are you predicting a Kirk Gibson moment? Because that's what Dodger fans do. They predict and they always go back to that Kirk Gibson moment, the one at bat World Series in 1988, down 4-3, bottom of the ninth, that fouled off about 10 pitches and then hit a slider off the
Where he
interceptor.
kind of like waddles around the bases. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then Tommy Resorter waddles on out and throws his arms up.
Ned, all we're predicting right now is that an Angels fan will wear a Mariners hat because he likes the colors. That's all
Yes.
we're predicting.
Yes.
That's all we're
I
predicting right now.
collect hats, guys.
But
I collect
the-
hats.
I will tell you
I
though,
think Jerry DePoto said the same thing.
yeah, I will tell you this though, at that Kirk Gibson moment, Dave, I don't think you knew this, but when I was at a company that Dave knew me at when we first met, they said, hey, guys, change your ringtones, because we all had like cubicles, and they said, guys, change your ringtone so that if you're in talking with somebody in one of the offices, you know that's your phone ringing. So I said, okay, do we have free ring? Sure. My ringtone was Vince Scully. In a year that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened. And the first time the CEO walked by my desk, he goes, what was that? What was that? I said, oh, that's my ringtone. He goes, no. I said, change it to something that makes sense. I'm like, that does make sense to me. Nobody else has that in the whole office. That does make sense to me. So anyways, Top fans, this has been fantastic. To Jamie, to Brian, to Dave, to Ned, to Chris, I thank you for joining us. Let's do this again, Top fans. As you're watching this, make sure you subscribe, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. We're having a good time. So as for now, we will be coming back. You're all invited back for the World Series edition. And if you haven't, pay attention to Chris's radio station on Sundays. Chris, when's it on, and what station can they grab it on?
3 to 5 p.m. every Sunday, KOCI 101.5 FM, and like I would say Central Orange County, anywhere in there you could find it. And we're also on the station's website, kociradio.com, 3 to 5 p.m. Me and Annie will be there.
So pay attention to him, because he's got some more analysis for you, he and Annie. So Top fans, we wish you good night, and thanks for joining us.